Hello everyone, my name is Clutch, and welcome to Lucifer Mechanics Garage of drag, speed, and styrene customs fabrication.
The front wheels never touch the ground, destroying everything that affects, making me rich for my sins. Welcome to the Lucifer's Mechanics Garage.
How's it going, everyone? This is Clutch coming at you with another edition of Lucifer Mechanics Garage. I just want to do a small intro here, try to explain to you real quick why I'm doing this. Is before we get into the how-to itself, is toward the end of the last step of the how-to, I forgot to hit record, so I'm gonna add it on here right now. And when you guys get to the part, you'll understand what I'm saying. So let's get in here and check this out, guys. With a request from Mr. John Poole, community model builder, he asked me if I would do like a how-to or something for the tunnel ram that I'm putting together for the Y block. And actually what it is, it's an Edelbrock. It's a small block Chevrolet tunnel ram system, Edelbrock, with a tag number of 7117. You know, and just once in my lifetime, I was about 17 years old, I had a 69 Camaro. It was more or less of a stripped down drag car that I run on the street. It had a big block with a tunnel ram system and two 650 Hollies. And it was a real bitch to, excuse my language, to get tuned in. But when I got it tuned in, I finally upped the game to 750 double pump. I mean, not single pump, dual lines, and got them tuned in, and it was just a real beast. So I don't have one to go off of measurements, but just from experience of being around them so much and just looking online and everything, I'm just kind of doing this on a whim. So these measurements don't measure out probably what they are on the thing. It's just from eyesight. What I did is you can see what I got going on here, and basically what they did is they took in the online for tunnel rams or whatnot. The article pulled up where they took a 7117 Edelbrock small block Chevrolet two full barrel intake, and basically machined all the runners out underneath for where the valve valleys run. Victor valve valley runs through there, and they basically just left the runners. And basically what they did is they made adapters, which they're adapters, but they're also water outlets that goes through the heads to make up for that, for the original intake. And then they just bolted it down. It fits perfect. These Y blocks, not that they're bigger than a small block. Chevrolet, the Ford Y blocks, they call them Y block because they're so wide-headed, And but these motors are tough as stone, man. I mean, they're tough. And the motor that I'm doing this one on was they punched it out to 400 cubic inch with like up to 600 horsepower. So these motors can take a lot of abuse. But anyway, getting back to this. Basically what I did is how I started out is I took since I'm running real low on material, everything you see here, the runners and the plenum for the intake, was basically made out of 156 by 80 styrene flat stock. But what I did is to make the runners, what I did is I just sanded them down to get the size that I needed, and got them set. And then for the plenum right here, for these plenums, what I did is I took a piece, like I said, a piece of 156 by 80. Okay. Now, as you can see on the end here, I still got a little bit left where I sanded it. sanded it down and everything, and that's how I got my corners so rounded off here. And what I did is I took and I sanded the corners down, okay, and I just worked it like this, got them down to where I wanted them, you know, and just kept working them on each side. Let me cut the camera off, and then we'll get back to this, okay? And I'll show you how I come out. Okay, now as you can see, what I did is after I took, you know, my sanding stick and rounded off the corners on every side. Now, just to explain something, I know a lot of you guys know this, but you know, in the fabrication industry, the tool and die, we use a blue dye that you know, that helps us you know, determine where we're at, you know, when we're machining something or grinding something. I use it a lot when I was doing a lot of like when I get done doing medical work or anything like that, before we'd send it off to you know, to get it x-rayed and everything. You know, we'd clean it up, but we always used dye to make sure we didn't go through spots, you know, when we was cleaning it up and everything. So if you can, just when you're doing stuff like this, or just anything in general, working on a motor, your heads, trying to flatten them out, or just anything, instead of just take a blue marker, you know, a Sharpie, and you know, just go over it real good, and that way you can determine and see what your work is, you know. And it just helps out a lot when you're doing things, and kind of keeps you from going places you don't want to go. So, but then after I flattened the corners and everything, what I did was I took a piece of, I think this is like 600, and I just went over it and just made sure everything was smooth. The edges was, you know, rounded off real nice and even, and you know, looked at it and everything. As you can see, I'm doing here. Just making sure everything is nice and smooth, you know, because I mean, you can always still clean it up and everything when you get it together, but it just makes it easier when you smooth it out now. You know, kind of a pre-cleanup to make sure that everything looks good, because sometimes after you glue things, it's hard to get to them and clean it up. So that looks pretty good. So that's what we wound up with right there. With the beveled edges and everything, okay. Then what I did is I went in and I cut my pieces, okay. Okay, wait, before I do that, what I need to do is I'm gonna miss a part here. Okay, now usually what I do is to cut the temper down to make sure that this don't bend. When I bend it, it don't break, because when anything like, you know, because since this has had heat to it, it does temper. Plastic, styrene, plastic, and all that stuff does temper. So what you want to do is you just want to take your lighter and you just want to run it over it, you know, go around. Don't hold it to it, you know, to the point to where it melts. You just want to heat it up and try to take that temper out of it, so it will bend pretty easy. And and then fill your end. Feels pretty good. And what I do is I come in and I cut my pieces, my plenum pieces like this, okay? And I square off the ends. You know, they don't have to be the right length. Just make sure you cut them long enough to that you can, you know, sand them down and everything for what you want later. Okay, that's pretty good. And then go over here to this side, sand that down. Sorry it's up so close, guys. I'm just trying to get you guys a good view before you can see things. I've been messing with the camera. I noticed you guys notice different scenes and everything. You know, one video it's bright, and one it's this, and one it's that. It's just I've been working on trying to get HD and just, you know, where you can really get in there and see the detail and everything. So I'm still experimenting. I'm not a tech kind of guy, and so, you know, I really suck at tech when it comes to you know, computers and cameras and stuff like that. I still have my son and my son-in-law do a lot of stuff for me, help me out with things, but a lot of times they're not around. to help me. You know, they got lives too, working and such. So I try to take as much as I can, but you know, I'm a hands-on kind of guy. I like to see what they're doing. So a lot of times they can't be here to do it. So I'm just experimenting still. But anyway, what I do after that is I grab my old where were they at? Okay, here they are. I got these right here. Okay. Now these right here are awesome set of pliers. Okay. They're a dowel plier, and I've actually got another set over here too as well, for smaller ones, for doing smaller stuff, for smaller bends and everything, as you can see. Okay, these are pretty useful. They come in handy. You can do a lot of work with these, with steel, aluminum, you know, brass and plastic. So what we do is you come in here and you start gradually bending. Don't go too crazy with it. Just do a little at a time to get what you need. 'Cause if you get too massive with it, it will snap, even though you took a little bit of the temper out. And just keep working it back and forth. And eventually you'll get where you want to be. Because you want to take your time with this, you know. You don't want to get too crazy with it because it will snap on you. You know. Let's see. Do we got what we want? Yep, right there. That's what we want. I had to cut another piece because we actually broke a piece a while ago. But I had a piece break on me earlier on the one that I built, and I just glued it together, but I had it the way I wanted it, so it kind of worked out. So if you get it to a point to where it's like that and you accidentally put too much pressure on it, you can just glue it and put a little liquid glue on it and just cut it, you know. So let's cut another piece here, sand it down. Alright. Alright, got that where you want it. Now let's go in here and do the same thing. Repeat as you did the front one. Now take your time, like I said. Don't put too much pressure on it, because it will snap on you. You know, just do a little at a time. Just let it shock back and absorb that pressure, you know. Just keep working it. Little at a time. I know it seems like a long process, but believe me, for the results, it's well worth it. Alright, there we go. Alright, we got two. Looks like we have two matching plenums. That right there seems like it's a little over bent, but there we go. Two matching plenums. Okay. Then what I did was I come in here. All right. I come in here and I put me down just a little bit of my liquid glue, just to tack it up a little bit. Get these two pieces together like so. Make sure we're all square, and then just put a good bead in there, just to let it come together. Okay, don't be acting up on me now on camera like I know you want to. Alright, then you just come in here and you just put just another little small bead in there like so. Okay, then don't squeeze it too hard, because if you do, you get that whole squishy styrene that comes out the sides, and you really want to eliminate that, because that just means more cleanup that you have to do. Okay, so put them down in there, work our fingers, make sure that they're all even. Okay, and that's what we wind up with right there. We have our plenum for the sides right here. That's what you see going on right here is the plenums. All right, now basically what I did was is before I did all that, before I got all this set right here, what I did is I cut my runners for the plenums, that bolt on to the adapters which go onto the heads. What I did was I only had 40,000. Like I said, I've run out of plastic, and so I'll be glad when I get some. But anyway, I had 40,000, so I had to actually cut a piece of 3x3 and take and put a flat piece of sandpaper down and sand it down to 20,000s, so it wouldn't be so thick. But yeah, them right there is what we got. So what I did was I pinned the adapters. Okay, the aluminum block adapters right here. I pinned these and pinned them to the heads. Then I took for the plenum runners. What I did is after I got them all set and everything the way I want them, I took just a couple dabs of my IC 2000 crazy glue or my hobby link. I like to use the black because it kind of helps me see the spread of what I use. And then I just put a couple small little dabs on there and glued them, let it set, and then it gave me time to cut these and then sand them to where I needed them to glue them on. So that way everything is set and I ain't got to sit there and fight these aluminum pieces and everything. And what I did was I made this little jig. If I can find it, of course. I can't find it now. Let me see here. Okay. What I did was I made this little jig up. Okay. As you can see, it's just made out of 40,000s plastic, and I made a little cut in it to go over the valley cover. Okay. The reason I kept the valley cover on it is because I wanted to make sure that when I put the rails on and everything, it all didn't land on top of it and keep me from pulling it in or out or whatnot. And what I did was I put this in between the runners before I put them on there, and I put a small dab of glue here and a small dab of glue there in the front of the block and the back of the block in the center, and I set this in between there. Okay. And then what I did was when I cut these to the size that I wanted, it gave me something for these to rest on, for these plenums to rest on, and give me a chance to sand them, get them all straight, and get them to where they was flush right in here with the with the runners and everything. And then up here, you kind of don't want it to stick out too far and one stick out lower and all that. You kind of want to keep them. I mean, you can have like a 1/16 of an inch or whatnot sticking up, but once you get all that set and glued and everything, and then you have to start cutting it apart, then you're going to run into problems. So you kind of want to keep it to where you can sand it and without cutting them. Once you get everything set and you got this jig in here, okay, and you glue these in, what you do is you go ahead, once they're set, I pulled this out, all right, and it gave me square right where I was, dead center or where I needed to be. All right. Now, and then what I did was I just took another piece of 40,000s, this 40,000s, and I cut a small strip, and I put in between. Here, as you can see, it's kind of hard to see because of whiteout and everything, but right here I put it in between, and I glued it in between the plenums. All right. Now the reason I did that was so that way these right here be structured. Now what I got to do is I'm going to go in here, I'm going to cut this really nice with a with my Dremel tool, with a with a grinder, with a stone cutter, and cut them out. And then I still got to come in here and I got to make a base. Oh, I just had the valve cover fell off. But what I did was I made a base. I still got to make the lower base that goes in between here that you see that usually runs on the tonal rams. And then the next step that we're going to be doing is we're going to be putting like a 1/16 round tubing up here, just really short pieces, and then we're going to build our way up onto the top of the 2.4-barrel intake. Okay, this is what I made it out of. It's another piece of 156 by 80,000 styrene plastic, 3 pieces glued together. So what I got to do is I still got to go in there and I got to cut it down to size, okay? And it's going to sit there just like that, like so. And then I got to build my little platform on top to where the carburetors are going to sit, okay? Just like so. And then that's how it's all going to go together, like wow. So it's a little bit wonky right now, but you'll see when we get her done. So that's I hope I explained this right, guys. I mean, I'm thinking about casting this piece. I'm not for sure. I'd really like to for future builds, but right now I just I can cast it. I have no problem with that. Just the problem is it's just time. I'm really wanting to get some builds done, and I just don't, sit down and cast. If I have to do another one, maybe that'll give me a chance to show you guys from the start, beginning, and everything how to do it. But we're going to continue on with this. I'm going to videotape you and show you how we're going to complete from here on out, okay? So just stay tuned for the next step, guys, okay? Stay tuned. Bye. Alright everyone, as you can see, I went in and I cut my 4 pieces that's going to go on top of the plenum for the intake. What happens is when these plenums come up and they meet up here on top, instead of being rounded and square looking like they are, there's a little bit of a round spot that goes in between, because you can pull the top of the plenum where the carburetors bolt onto off, because there's a gasket in between there. So that way you can switch it to, they got it where you can switch it to a single carb or different setups or whatnot, but they're usually not so square like the lower plenums. They're more of a rounded, but they kind of got like a little oval shape to them. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take my old trusty flat tweezers or pliers, whatever you want to call them. I've used these things for years for bending photo etch and everything, but I got a tool list that I'm getting ready to get some more micro mark stuff that actually, because when you bend these together, they don't, like one end bends more than the other side when you're doing stuff like this. Now when you're bending photo etch and stuff, it works perfect, but what happens is when you try to do like squish and stuff, like trying to get an oval shape or something like that, what happens is when you start squishing, you get one end that is squished more than the other one. So when I order the ones for Micro Mark, the pliers that I'm getting, it's like when you press them together, it just comes down all flat all the way around. It's the way they have the mechanism set up on the pliers. So I'm really looking forward to getting them. But until then, we're stuck using the oak ones. Like I said, these things have been faithful to me for years and years. I've used them many times for many things, for bending photo etch and just random stuff. So I ain't complaining about them. So. But basically what we're doing is we're going to come in here and we're going to put them in there, and as you can see, I'm going to put a small squish on them and we get that oval shape look. See how it looks oval? Now what I got to do is I'm going to go in there and I'm going to do all 8 of them like that, and we're going to get them set like this one, and then we're going to start gluing them together and getting them put on top of the plenum and then flatten them out and everything, and then we can start working on the next part. And I'm going to go up underneath when I get them done and put this piece that goes in here, up in here between the 2 plenums, that connects the whole 4 plenums together. So we'll be working on that next. So here we go. All right, everyone. As you can see here, we got our pieces done and put together. What we did was we put them pieces that we squished together, put a little squish on them, get that oval shape out of them. We put them together and got them glued together and everything, and made sure that we had a good flat surface across the bottom. I used liquid styrene to put these together. But we got us a good flat surface. We started off with that, and as you can see, we got them glued into the we got them glued on top of the runners, you know, which is the plenum, you know, runs into the plenum. And now what these are going to represent, and I'll show you in a picture here, is, you know, on the top of your 2.4 intake, like wind is different than Edelbrock. Wind intakes have just a little bit thinner plenum on top, where the 2.4 sit on top, and Edelbrock is just a little bit thicker, which, you know, I like that because it gives your you know, it gives your fuel flow that comes out of the carbs into the intake, into the plenum. It lets it atomize more, you know. Of course, if anybody knows anything about, you know, 2.4 intakes, it's like these things are not torque monsters. They, like, you know, they're for like high rev motors, you know, that really come off the line at like 10 grand or so, you know. You know, but you can get torque out of them. It just depends on how you set up and what kind of carbs you run and so forth. But anytime you raise your plenum up, it's like you know, it kind of slows you down on the torque aspect because it takes so much to draw it down into the motor. But anyway, with all that, I don't know why I told you that, but it's just a little thing there. But as you can see, we mounted them, got them on there, and after we got them set and everything, I went in with my blue marker and marked everything up so I can see it. And we got them set. Now, if you notice on the intake, on the bottom runners here, where it comes into the plenum, we got us a little space in between there. It's going to be a space on the side and just a little bit of a gap here. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in and lightly sand that right there to match the top of these plenum for the plenum box. Okay, we still got to sand these down to where we need them to put the box on top, and then we're going to match the runners to go into the plenum box. Okay, so that way it all looks like it's matched. Because this, once I get it all together, this is all going to be one piece. It ain't going to be two piece like you see in the kits or whatever. It's just going to be one piece. But anyway, but yeah, that's what we did. We're going to sand this. We're going to sand these down, get them ready. And then we're going to, like I said, we're going to cut this bar out, and then we're going to fit the plate inside there, and then we'll move into the next step, guys, okay? Alright, everyone, as you can see, we finally got the top of the plenum done. I just wanted to give you a view from the top to let you see how it's coming out. Nothing is really just, I really ain't got it glued in there or anything. I just wanted to give you a little shot what it looked like from the top. But this is what we did. We went ahead, and if you remember, we was talking about doing these, where's my pointy thing? As you remember, we was talking about doing the bottom of the runners, you know, that come up into the plenum. What we did was, as you can see, we did the, as you've seen in the video before this, we flattened our pieces out, we got them glued together, and then we got them glued on top of the runners that's going to go into the plenum, okay? Now, what I had to do after that is I had to go down and I had to sand them down to where I needed them. And then I had to go in, if you can see it, I had to go in, and it's hard to get it lined up here. I had to go in and then put a V-shaped cut in it to make up for the plenum, which is this right here, okay? Now, this plenum right here, what I did was I kind of skipped a video here because I really got into trying to get it done and forgot to record. But basically what I did was I just took 3 pieces of the 156 by 80 and just glued them together. Then I cut it down to what I needed. And then what I did was I took it, you know, a flat piece of sandpaper, and you know, like, I don't know, probably about 400 grit, put it on the table with some tape, and just did this right here to get it down where I needed it. And then what I did was I took 2 pieces of 40,000s, and I come up with my piece. That's about a 15-degree bend right there. and then I glued them together, and I sat there and I did the same thing. And but what I did was is when I put these two pieces together, I put a piece of 1/16 styrene rod in there to give it strength, and then I sat there and did the same thing. I sat there and sanded it until it got down to, you know, this level right here where you see it comes across. Now the reason I did that is because I don't want to get too high on this plenum, and if I would have just put it on there and, you know, if I would have just put it on there and just cut the sides, then I'd have been another 40 thousandths up. And I'm trying to keep from getting way up on this thing. You know, I'm trying to make it look, you know, somewhat real, so it all had to be sanded down and somewhat precise. But it took a little while to do that. Probably about a couple hours sitting there sanding and making sure it's all straight and level and everything, to show you why it's good to have lots of stock, you know, laying around of styrene. That way you ain't got to go through all that mess, you know. But yeah, that's it. So the next thing we got to do is we have to come in and we got to make the tops for the top mounting parts for the carburetors, and that's what we're going to work on next. I'm going to figure out if I'm going to probably use a piece of 20 thousandths or 30 thousandths or something to make the platform for it. And then I got something that I really want to try that I mentioned before on my valve covers that I need to finish for the semi-Hemi for the Pontiac. I'll show you that here in a minute. But as you can see, the work we did here, let me try to get this straightened out. Oh shoot, it's hard to, it's like with a camera, you go one way and it's another way. Okay, let's see here. Alright. There we go. I mean, you get what I'm saying. How it fits on her like that. Sorry guys, it's so hard to navigate. I'm looking at the TV and trying to do this. But as you see, that's how it was. Now that right there was a pain in the butt to get that V right and everything with sanding it. You know, but you know, it has to be a good tight seal, so that way you know you don't see no gaps or anything. But yeah. But anyway, we're going to get started on the next part, and then we'll post and let you guys see what's going on. Okay. Everyone, as you can see, if you got to this part, you have made it all the way through the how-to, and I just kind of wanted to, from here on out, I'm going to have to explain to you what I did, okay? Now, if you remember, first of all, I'd just like to correct something. I was calling these your plenums. They are not your plenums. They are your runners. I meant to say runners. I said runners a couple times, but I kept saying plenum. But your plenum is up here, guys, where your carburetor mounts to. You know, that's where your fuel and everything gets broken up before it goes into the runners, into the heads. But anyway, you know, these bottom part of the runners, okay, that are actually, see these two parts right here in 1-to-1, they bolt together. But we wound up gluing ours together, okay. But what we did was after we put a you know, a small you know, squeeze them together. You know, got that look to them, that flat look. We wound up gluing them together and gluing them on to the bottom of the runners. And we took, they stuck up about, I'd say close to about, you know, anywhere from 1/16 of an inch or no, they're taller than that. There's about 3/16 to 1/8 of an inch. And so I took one of my flat files, went in there after I blued it all in and just sanded it. You know what I mean? Got it real nice, flat, flush. Took my time, make sure everything was even. Then what I did was I went in the shape of this plenum right here, okay? I went in and bit me up a piece of aluminum. Real nice, got a nice sharp bend in it. Got it the same, you know, the same as this bend right here. I got it even. And then I took like a 400 grit sandpaper and I wrapped it around that bend of that aluminum, taped it and everything. And then I went in between these runners, right in between here, right in there, and I went in and I just sanded them back and forth. Just took my time, real nice. Like I said, I had the blue on there to make sure that I could see everything was even and everything. And I got 100% contact point on all the surfaces because I wanted no gaps in there, you know. But once we got that all set and everything, we went in and cut our plenum, okay? Now our plenum, I just wanted, it looked like in the picture, you know, I just kind of got off of it, and we went like a 30-second off of each end, and I wound up cutting it. Got it nice and square, cleaned it up, and we wound up taking our liquid glue and, you know, and gluing it in there, getting it set to where it's nice and even and everything, and we could see that, you know, that it was set, and we just let it dry. Then what I did is I went in here. Now, if you don't know what these carburetors are translucent, you really can't see them. But what these are a TDR product. They're on shapeways for 3D printing. They've got a huge line of stuff, anywhere from 1/32 scale all the way to 1/8 or something like that. Might even be bigger. 1/4, I think they got some stuff. But they've got carburetors, motors, transmissions, just about everything, driveline stuff, bodies, all kinds of cool stuff on there. But anyway, these are the 1/25 scale 750 dual line single pump Hollies that they've got. I think you get 4 of them for like 17 bucks. They're highly detailed, very beautiful. Like I said, they're hard to see here because they're translucent, but I can't wait to get in there and detail them and put some Detail Master carburetor linkage hardware on there to really get that look that they need and everything. But anyway, once I got them in from them, what I did is I took a piece of 40,000 sheet, you know, cut out a small, you know, like about a 2x2 piece, and I took the carbs and took the base of the carburetor, okay, and set it on top of the plastic. Then took a number 2 pencil that I use like this, and I got the tip really fine, you know, really point where I wanted it, and I sat there and traced two bases out. Then what I did was next is I took and I cut. Instead of trying to cut the indentations, I cut 2 perfect squares all the way around what I traced. Then I took my little file set and I went in there and I filed them out and just took my time, filed them out, got them nice and square. As you can see, they fit the base of them real nice. So they turned out really good. And then once I got them done, I went in and looked at the picture and everything, set them on top the way they look in the picture, and got them all set. And then we took our liquid glue again and, you know, got them up in there, glued them, set them up in there, and then just made sure that they were set and let them dry. Then after that, guys, is what I did was I kind of missed a step. I should have done this before I glued all this together. As you can see in the center there, let me turn it to the side here. I got everything mounted with white glue. As you can see right in there, right in here. Okay, now that right there, I guess that's just a support that goes between the 2 set of runners to keep them together, you know, as a base, you know, for the top. Basically what I did was I went in and after all these were flat, I went in and took a piece of like 5/1000 sheet plastic and just traced it all the way around the bottom, you know, the top of these runners, traced it out, somewhat cut it out to where it was. I had to, like, you know, sand it and everything file them down to get them to where they fit. Then once I got it close, I put it up in there, put my liquid glue in there, and then I went in with some liquid styrene and went in and filled in the gaps and everything. And she came out pretty nice, just the way it, you know, it's supposed to look. So don't forget to add that when you do it, you know, add it in there. But I still have just a little bit more work to do. I got to add some lines for vacuum lines and stuff like that in there. Put some bunt plugs in there. And there's 2 options of this carburetor, this Edelbrock 7117. Now on one option, they mold the throttle linkage lines where you can run the lines and everything to them on here and just bolt them on. Then another way they do it is they just bolt straight off the bottom plate of the carbs. When we get to that point, I really don't know which one I'm going to do yet. It just depends, but I need to make up my mind before I, you know, wind up painting this. If I'm going to do the bunt, you know, like the molded and bunt sleeves that come out to mount the linkage or to mount them on top. But when we get to that, you know, we'll get to that bridge. We'll cross it when it comes to it. But anyway, guys, that's basically about it. We've got her done. Like I said, you don't have to use this for this style motor. If you got like a rocket motor out of the 50 Oldsmobile kits that you want to custom make an intake for, or if you got some kind of motor that doesn't have a tonal ram, you know, just use the runners off of the, you know, cut the runners off of that intake, or make your own or whatnot, and just glue them to the head, make your intake, and then just take what I taught you, showed you from here on up, and you can basically make it your own. You know what I mean? Just go off by sight, or if you got a buddy that's got a toner ram, that makes it even better, so you can get some measurements and everything. But I think I pretty much will hit it right on the head, guys. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this how-to. Hope you were able to use it and get, you know, learn you a little something that you can do, play with, and just to jump outside the box, you know. So, but other than that, guys, like I always say, love your families, love your pets, love your friends, build smart and build efficient. Until next time, brothers and sisters, we'll talk to you later. Bye.
Lucifers! Get it! Sunday! Everybody gather around the strip for a once-in-a-lifetime drag. We have a very special race for you tonight, ladies and gentlemen. We have Lucifer driving his full nitro funny car Camaro, ready to shred tires in competition at hellish speed. Lucifer will be holding grudge matches all night, gambling for souls. Don't fret, ladies and gentlemen. Nothing will slow down his car, not even after crashes. Gashes are being